this is my presentation on the psychological and physiological responses to injury. So we'll start with the stages of recovery. So the first stage is the acute or inflammation stage. This is at the exact point of injury, and the site of the injury will swell and inflame due to bleeding into the tissue. This bleeding can last up to 6 hours and will kind of come on instantaneously. And also the blood vessels at the injured site will dilate, so that more blood can get there. It will become hot, swell, and you'll have a loss of function. So this is the immediate response to injury. So it'll kind of come on 10 minutes to 7 days. Then you've got the subacute or the repair stage. During this phase, the duration of this phase, depends on the size and site of the injury, but it's usually about 2 to 4 weeks. So in this stage, there's an increase in collagen fibres and starts the formation of scar tissue. Then moving on to the final stage, you've got the chronic or remodelling stage. This lasts usually 6 to 18 months, but again changes depending on the severity of the injury. Here we see an increase in strength, a return to normal skin colour, fibre, the arrangements become more organised, and the scar tissue will kind of become more parallel to make it stronger rather than the big jumbled mess that it is when it first kind of forms. The site of the injury will become a lot less sensitive, and you'll have a reduced pain. So moving on to scar tissue. Scar tissue forms a weak area at the injured site as it repairs. So it kind of forms in an irregular pattern, but if you kind of work on your early mobility and your stretching, then it helps make the fibres in scar tissue parallel, which will eventually kind of strengthen it, hopefully back to full strength. So injury is likely to reoccur if a load is applied too early or is too heavy for the kind of injured muscle. So this will be in, say, you've got a weightlifter who's torn his bicep. If he'll kind of have scar tissue forming in his bicep, and if he kind of goes onto his heavy weights too early and does the same thing, then the scar tissue won't be strong enough and it'll just rip again. So newly formed Huglam in 2005 said that newly formed scar tissue has more elasticity than more mature scar tissue. So this is why the kind of early mobility and the stretching will help it kind of even out, because when it's new it'll kind of move more easily. So then moving on to injury recovery times. So bones are probably the quickest to heal. They kind of range from about 12 to 14 weeks, depending on the severity. Muscle to fully kind of repair, unless it's only a micro tear, then that won't take this long. So muscles, for a muscle tear, it will be 7 to 25 weeks, depending on if it's grade 1, 2 or 3 muscle tear. And then tendon, we're looking at about 14 to 50 weeks, again depending on severity. Ligaments damage is probably the longest, and that will take 12 to 18 months to heal. And then also we've got articular cartilage, which generally takes about 6 months to heal. So then moving on to the psychological responses. Weinberg and Gould, 2007, said that people with high levels of stress have more sport and exercise related injuries than people with less stress in their lives. So there's lots of different models for kind of the psychological responses to injury. Probably one of the main ones is the 5-stage grief method. So it's broken down into 5 different stages. So you've got denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and anger. So during injury, it can be very hard mentally for athletes, especially athletes whose livelihoods depend on them being able to perform to a high standard. And then, so the main is this kind of 5-stage grief model. Also, during rehabilitation, it is imperative that these athletes stay kind of positive and on top of their rehab. Otherwise, they'll likely to just form into go into a bit of a slump, and maybe not carry out their rehabilitation properly, which could detrimentally impact their health long term, not just their playing career.